Welcome back, everybody, to, the only podcast. We're here, coming to you live, pre-recorded from the Richrokk Studios. And Rich, you consider yourself an artist?
I really do, in every sense of the word.
Also joining us is our buddy Dave. He's the only professional in the group, we promise. Dave, do you consider yourself an artist?
Oh, absolutely.
Excellent, I'm in good company. All right. So we've been talking about doing a podcast for a little while now. And considering we all feel the urge to create things, I think a good place to start this off is to talk about art itself. When you first start creating things, you tend to ape or mimic the style of another person, whether you're drawing something you saw on TV or in a cartoon. If you're playing music, you're doing covers. And we're kind of taught art by mimicking other artists. So that said, I'd like to open up the floor for the very first conversation, even though I said welcome back. For
time travelers.
Let's
welcome back.
Chat about time travel and travel back to your origin stories.
Yeah.
So let's kind of talk about how you got started. Like you're an artist, like a literal artist. You draw.
Yeah.
You've been essentially teaching people how to make movies for your entire career.
I have.
And I mean, I saw you do some fantastic, video work not that long ago.
Yes.
So, as an aspiring filmmaker, how did you get started?
Okay, that's a great question. So, my parents, they met, and
This is the important part.
That's usually what happens before we intercourse.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they meet, and then before you know it, right? And so then I became, and
Your
early
dad was a
on,
no-nonsense guy.
early on, I knew that storytelling was going to be important to me, and drawing. I was a drawer, right? I was always drawing scenes and stuff, copying from the comic books, Spider-Man, a lot of copying, not much tracing ever, but a lot of copying, trying to make my own thing. So my origin story was drawing pictures, and it was visual storytelling that I was very attracted to. It was what I had to do. The one story I like to tell about being a filmmaker or knowing I wanted to be part of that world is, this is before even kindergarten. It's one of my earliest memories. And I was watching an Elvis movie. We were living in Chicago. Watching this Elvis movie, and he gets shot or whatever, and maybe he was like a twin or something, and the one dies. I can't remember, but he gets shot, and I was like, and I remember I started crying, and I'm thinking to myself, I remember this, that's insane. This actor, this person, and I knew that it was a movie, but it's real. He got shot for this, and I was affected. My mom told me no actors, and they were pretending, is that real, And I said, "Shut up, woman!" and then I got smacked around a little bit, and that was super real. No, but I knew that I had a story. So then, fast forward, I'm in school. I was a horrible student, but I was a really good artist, and I was always drawing in the corners of my papers, and getting in trouble for that. Always thinking about scenes in my head, not paying attention, thinking about scenes. Luckily, I was able to graduate, get to college, Southern Illinois University, where I studied. I got a BA in Mass Communications and Media Arts, and I was focused on TV production. So in the TV production, radio and television department, you can go either radio or television. Within the television department, you can either go news or storytelling, like on video, and not at the film school. That was too expensive.
Right.
So that's what it was. And then I learned how to edit and all that stuff, these reels. Hell, I cut shit and taped it.
Oh, that's cool.
Unbelievable. You know, I graduated in 97 and I'm leaving college. I was graduated. And I was just kind of like roaming the halls, okay? And I see this one teacher that was in my department, and he goes, "Oh, you got to check out this new machine the film students are using. It's called an Avid machine." You ever heard of an Avid machine? You know, early on, it was basically like a computer. It was like editing, it was non-linear editing, the first non-linear editing softwares, and it was a whole machine. You didn't buy a Mac and put a software in it or a PC. You bought the Avid system, you know. And I thought, this is unbelievable what you can do with this. Because when I was editing, it's like if I had like 5 shots, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I forgot, oh shit, I needed to put this shot here. Yeah. Everything else I did was ruined. I had to start over from that point. Or, I was going to say export, or copy it onto another tape. So it's its own entity, cut it in, take that back off that tape, put it now on this tape, and now you've got these generation losses. We don't have that anymore, you know.
The equivalent would be what? Compression loss? Kind of?
Sure. Yeah.
But definitely compression loss isn't quite as drastic as losing your whole project.
No, because you still got original files.
Right.
Yeah.
Fast forward, here I am. I've been on my own with my company, D. Hudson Productions, for 24 years. 24 years where I get to be a filmmaker, I get to be an actor. We saw it tonight. I had a project tonight. We solved the problem together, but I have to be on camera performing, right?
I did the most work.
Yeah.
The heaviest lifting.
He ran the teleprompter today with one finger. And so I'm lucky, and I get to do it. And here's what I will say as far as being a filmmaker and being an artist. It's tough to get rich.
Yeah, I think that's something most people can identify.
Yeah,
with.
any industry. But the other problem is the heroic thing in my life. It probably would have been to go get a job and been working for a job 20 years and just kind of doing some stuff on the side. That might have been the heroic thing. But I couldn't do that. I had to do this. It's a selfish thing. And I still struggle, you know, finish out a project, kick it out, you know, and be like, let's talk about that check. You know, there's a lot of that. A lot of that still goes on in my career.
No, I definitely feel that. Like, that's where I'm at personally. Like, we've been talking about Richrokk for a long time. And, you know, I wanted to go to film school when I was 18, but kind of got sidetracked. So now I've got my little son at home, and I have to have a day job. Yeah. But I'm really yearning for the day where I can make that jump, where this is the primary thing, where I'm able to create. Because I guess it's selfish in a way, because it's really just wanting my imagination to pay my bills. But it's also like that's my gift to eternity. It's like I don't have a whole lot of like useful skills. I'm kind of funny, but that's not something that's necessarily going to be helpful if society collapses. But if I'm able to,
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I don't know about that. That'd be one of the most.
By myself.
Listen, you know, if society collapses, only a few people are going to need the.
Yeah, I'm
a funny person.
True.
Any artist in general, a musician. That's why I always feel like if shit goes down, listen, can play guitar.
Yeah, and I guess the way I've been looking at it is more the Gilgamesh. Like I live through what my legend says. Like I'm aware I'm not going to live forever, but I feel like something I make has a chance to live beyond me.
Sure.
And that's a cool idea.
Yeah.
And it feels like I've contributed something. And you know, just really not just trying to pass something on to the world, but trying to give something to my son where it's like, hey man, this was a dream of mine forever. And I don't know what, you're almost 5. I don't know what your dreams are going to be, but don't let go of them. Maybe you don't chase them all the way to the end of the rainbow, but at least you'll hang on to them. Because it's tough to maintain hope in this world. And I think that's what a lot of art helps us kind of come to terms with, is we have so much morbid curiosity that is explored in, you know, writing and painting and filmmaking, that we're able to transfer a lot of these difficult emotions onto another medium and deal with them outside of ourselves. And that's where we come together. We all speak different languages, but we all cry the same. We all laugh the same.
Yeah, story is, story is the thing that has brought us to where we are today.
Mm-hmm.
Story is the thing that has made humanity what it is.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I mean, it's the oldest thing we can pinpoint is sitting around campfires or looking up into the night sky and drawing lines.
Well,
You know, you look at the history of the Zodiac, and it goes back beyond what we can tie it to. Like, we know these stories go back further than the records we have of them.
yeah.
And I think that's that's a big part of the draw is just knowing that you can contribute to the fabric of something that's far greater than yourself, that's going to live far beyond you. But I think that ultimately the goal of an artist is having something relevant to say about the time that you live in.
Sure. Right.
Ultimately, that's your goal. I mean, and you could say that in an abstract way, or a very, very, pointed fashion, whatever. But I mean, ultimately, I think that's a big draw, and I think that when you think of it, when you think that way, that's what you're there to do. And then no, taking the job wouldn't have been the Richrokk thing. Working some corporate America career for 20 years would not have been the Richrokk thing, and I don't think it's really selfish to say, hey, I want to make my living with my imagination, because the most important, like you pointed out, the most important thing you're going to be able to do to give the world is what's in here.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And that exactly is my plan for world domination on a 2-year time cycle.
I love that was still rolling.
Welcome back from the break. So now that we've returned, so we talked to Dave a little bit about your origins and your heart for the art.
Yeah, brother.
Rich, your name is on the channel title.
It is.
So tell me why. What got you started? What other forms of art have you engaged in?
I think that
Tell me about Rich.
I think growing up poor got me started, because parents with limited resources are all like, oh wait, this one's quiet when you give them pencil and paper. So they kind of kept me stocked at like pencils and paper, man. So I started drawing, or attempted to draw, probably as early as like 3, probably. I don't ever not remember.
Not drawing. You've always been drawing.
No, I don't ever not remember it. So it's just always been there. Just always been doing it. And I come from generations of talented illustrators and musicians. So it's kind of in the blood.
You've got a particularly famous relative in the film industry, do you not?
I do.
Josh,
I don't know this story.
Josh is referring to Mr. Rudy Ray Moore. That's right. Known to many of you as Dolomite. Yes.
Bullshit.
Nah, man, that's my cousin, bro.
Bullshit.
No, Rudy Ray Moore is my cousin. That is my cousin. Fred Williamson is also a cousin on my father's side of the family.
You gotta be shitting me.
I'm not kidding you. No, my uncle Rick, he's on like a number of albums and whatnot, like Isley Brother Records and stuff.
Wow.
Plays with like BB King a lot and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Wow.
He's a cool cat, man, because we talk about music and whatnot, and I'll bring up dudes, and he's like, oh yeah, man, I remember I did a few gigs with him. I'm like, oh my god, like all my heroes. I'm like, this guy's playing great. It's awesome. But yeah, so I kind of grew up always drawing and whatnot, and then I was just always attracted to the arts, and really I think that even as a young kid, like playing with action figures and stuff. What I was really doing, I think, I look back now and I realize that was like budding filmmaking, budding animating. Because I wasn't satisfied with just setting up toys. I'm coming up with storylines, and acting the stuff out, and that was like that.
Like, you really... a bitch? No, you a bitch.
Exactly.
No, you a bitch.
That's right.
No, you a bitch.
Yes. Yeah. And it's something we know that kids really do. Kids really act out. Kids really act out. They act out their impressions of the world in play, and it's really cool. I watched a documentary where the guys that behind He-Man explained that what they needed to do is they needed to come up with a toy line that could compete with Kenner, because Kenner had
G.I. Joe?
Kenner had Star Wars, and that was amazing. So they had the Star Wars stuff, and so they're trying to come up with a way to how can you compete with that, and they decided to do something very different than everybody else. And they want these big, bulky, muscular characters, and so they said that what they did was they followed around, or not followed around, but they stalked 5-year-old boys and watched 5-year-old boys
nice.
play.
Yeah.
And what they noticed
No crimes committed
was that in their play, what they always did, they always seemed to demonstrate this desire for power. And they realized, well, yeah, because they're a little kid, and everyone controls every part of your world. When you will eat, where you go, what you wear, when you get up, when you go to bed. And so when they played, they noticed, man, there's really a lot of, you'll do it because I said so. They noticed a lot of this. And so that's where they came up with the He-Man. I had the power, and they knew that was going to touch kids. When you ask people to this day, what do you remember most about He-Man? Every Gen Xer says, I have the power. That made such an indelible mark in us. They knew this is what you want. So anyway, my point is just that, so I was doing that as a kid, and I look back on it and realize that it was actually sowing the seeds for things I would do later, like animating and all that. So I guess my origins are just, I was a weird, spacey kid who was curious and could stare for hours at patterns and puddles and listen to oddball sounds like off in the distance, and just find. I didn't call it music, but I would just be hearing compelling things in sounds around me.
Yeah.
And sure enough, I got into music, and all this other stuff. But I'd say that the origins were just, I was encouraged to pursue that as a kid. I think possibly because it kept me quiet, not everybody's hair. But my folks kind of saw that, that was really my interest in, or where my talent seemed to lie, because I wasn't the brightest kid. So I'm like, oh man, you better keep up with that pencil.
Yeah, keep up. Yeah, that trust me. That's
yeah.
It's interesting that it was partially He-Man that got you started, because with the Richrokk show, one of your recurring animations is a trademark distinct muscle-bound group of characters.
Yeah. Yep. I was very, very,
known
very...
as the Man.
Yes. Because and here's part of why that is part of it, it's that, dude, that cartoon had such an impact on me. It really did. They did a great job of sucking you in. And they were real limited in what they could do. I listened to like what they had to put up with, like the standards, whatever it's called, commission or whatever.
yeah, right.
The standards Nazis, He-Man could never use a sword to do anything that a sword does. He could only use it to, smash things, block lasers, could never punch anybody. All this kind of crap. And they still managed to make something that was pretty compelling and fun and cool. Remember like the murky backdrops and whatnot?
Yeah.
Like these, it's just
The watercolor.
yeah, and it was. I mean, when you really look at it, it's a little tripped out.
Yeah.
It's cool, man. So stuff like that just really grabbed me, and like you were talking about, yeah, that was stuff I would imitate and try to draw, and working for comic books and things like that, and yeah.
That's what I thought I was gonna do. Oh.
All right, that sound is the sound of you watching another ad as soon as we get monetized. If we're not monetized when you're watching this, see you in about half a second.
Yeah, just come right to it.
Welcome back to Good Morning, Good Morning. I'm your host. And with me is your other host and our guest.
Now you know that. So now that we're back, we're going to turn the tables on Josh. And Josh, we're going to throw the question at you now, man. We're talking about our origins, and it's to the best that we know, kind of what sowed the seeds for what we find ourselves doing now.
It's a mix of things for me. Like, my old man liked to consider himself very artistic in a lot of ways. Like, he had a lot of passion, but unfortunately didn't have the time to dedicate to become probably as good as could have been. But he was a musician, he was a writer, mostly a poet. So I had an example in him where it's like, even if you're not good at this thing right now, you should still be doing it. So I was okay with sucking at writing poetry and playing guitar because it was like, oh, well, you know, Dad was where I am at some point, and he was always at least a little bit better. So it was like I knew there was a level I could reach, and kind of I admired him for wanting to do that, for wanting to just keep pushing and trying new things and trying to express what it was that he had trapped up here. Because my dad was a very intelligent man and had a lot to
You
say.
are literally the son of a warrior poet.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we'll...
For those of you who do not know.
All right, so my old man, my dad was a Marine. And we'll kind of get into some of his stories another day, because that's a whole episode to itself. You'll want to be here for that one.
Yes, I will.
But yeah, you could call him a warrior poet, and he was also an ordained Baptist minister. So when I started writing, my dad was like, his name was David. He's like, well, I'm King David, you're the Solomon. You get to build the temple. And for those of you who grew up in church, you're welcome. For those of you who didn't, I won't explain it, and you're welcome. It was like, I'm King David, I get to see the promised land, and you get to build the temple. So I had that spurring me on. It's like, well, Dad wants me to be better than he was. So now I started reaching into other avenues. Like I said, I wanted to go to film school. I wound up going to music school, which was probably a mistake because I was an okay composer, but dear God, I'm a bad musician.
Are you sure?
And it's good to know that about myself.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
sure?
I'm not very.
What do you play?
I played a little bit of guitar. I had to sing, and I played a little bit of piano, very poorly, and just a smattering of drums. But I was a decent composer. I knew how to organize the notes. Like theoretically, I understood the music. I just was not talented enough to make it go from here to here. So I would put it on the paper, and I could make it sound correct coming out of the computer, but I couldn't perform it myself. So even then, I was still kind of the writer. And some major life things happened. My dad passed away. I was diagnosed with lupus, and I wound up in the hospital a lot, had to drop out of school. And I was lost for a little while until I was working overnight security, and I had a lot of time on my hands. And my best friend told me I needed to start writing my stories down because we were always going back to the same. Well, he was, yeah. And he's still probably, hey Johnny. It was one of those like, Price, we always keep coming back to these same stories, and we keep asking you to tell them, like, just put it down on paper. So naturally, the first thing I wrote was just garbage. But again, with my upbringing, I was okay with that. I'm like, well, the next one has to be better because it can't get any worse. Because as long as I keep going. And so I kept improving and improving. I did eventually.
So you think?
Yeah, my ego is large enough
Maybe
that I'm
not. I don't know.
confident that I improved. No, I kept writing. I kept writing these novellas. These things weren't. I couldn't quite break the threshold of writing a full-length project. And then I had a real bad spell of insomnia one year around the anniversary of him passing away. And I was talking to my sister about what it would be like to talk to Dad after he had passed. Well, this got my gears running, and I grew up as a horror fan. Like, I just love schlocky B horror. So I wrote a short story about a guy who talked to a dead person in a mortuary. Like, the guy gets out of the casket and he sits down and they have a conversation. And that just ballooned into. Yeah, it turned out it was. It turned out it was. He hides from him in the. You know what? If it's even still available, go on Amazon and look for Reaper by Josh Price.
That's on the internet.
The original short story is still technically in the book. So I did write a novel eventually, and it was during this spell of insomnia that I realized the short story could go further. So I wrote an outline for 4 books, and I wrote this world around it. And it was just this fantasy story that incorporated a lot of elements of mythology. Because again, a lot of B horror is around mythology. Mummies are Egyptian. Zombies are hoodoo and voodoo and all this. So there was all this world mythology that wants to line up, but we never seem to get it to click. And I wanted to make it click. So I wrote this book and I planned it all out. And then from there, I just kind of became... It didn't click. I had to scrap the whole thing after I published the first book. Wow. I do have the second book written, and I'll probably get around to finding an agent at some point. But
like at some point,
I wrote it and I jumped to the next thing. So I'm like, all right. I started remembering how much I loved film. I'm like, well, I wrote this book, so now I know I can finish something. Maybe I should start something new and see if I can finish that. So over the next 4 or 5 years, I just kept writing, learning about script writing and writing these shorts, which eventually became sketches for the Richrokk show. And then, you know, we've been working on a script for a film that we want to do, you know, in the near future. So I guess in a lot of ways I'm still that 6 or 7 year old kid who's like, you know what, I might suck at this right now, but that's okay. I want to keep getting better. That's really good timing. So folks, we're going to throw it back to you. What's your origin story? Wait, don't answer that. We'll be right back. So anyway, theoretically, all the money is still technically tucked into what would have been the shoulder pads of his suits. Just go to Goodwill and look for old suits.
I mean, it's a treasure hunt.
It's brown,
It's
right?
a treasure hunt. Yeah.
Did you say brown?
Brown. For those of you who caught the nonsense that just came out of my mouth, go to Goodwill, see what happens. Welcome back to the show, based on the movie, which is based on the book by Sapphire called Precious. Rich, save me, I'm lost.
I have the graphic novel.
It's a graphic novel. That'd be a hell of a graphic novel. Precious, the graphic novel.
Oh, Lord. So anyway, so now we all kind of have an idea where we came from and where we're seemingly heading.
Well, right. You know, so I turned 50 in December. I can't believe I'm 50. And so this has been 24, 25 years I've been doing this. And when I decided, okay, so 24 years ago, I was working in the film industry. And I worked at a production company. I took the train in and out every day. I graduated college. I got a year-long job at Lone Star Steakhouse before I got my first job in the film industry. So then now I'm taking the train back and forth for a year to answer phones, make demo reels of directors, call couriers, send them to ad agencies and all this, you know. And I did that for a year. It's pretty cool. And then I started, working as a production assistant. And there was at the time then the Grips, okay, in that union, local 476 Chicago Grip Electrics. They really liked me. I worked hard, you know. Working hard was never a problem. Still isn't. Matter of fact, I enjoy it. If it's blood, sweat, and tears, I'm in the right place, you know. And so there was this family of brothers that was in the industry. So I show up, I'm new, and they think, oh my God, there's another one of these brothers that thought I was part of their family. Because we looked alike. Short, squatty dudes, kind of fucking tough, you know. And so I'm like, no, I don't. He was like, you got it. You're not their brother. Dudes, they're like, they're going to freak out. You look just like family. So when I finally met these dudes, man, we clicked like that. It was awesome. They loved me. I loved them. So now they're inviting me to join the union. So now I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to join the union. I even had a little party. I was engaged at the time. And this woman's family, who she became my wife, we have a child together. We're divorced. It's cool. So they took me out to dinner because they're like, oh, hey, he's starting his career. He's going to be in the union, right? But I thought, this executive producer had said to me, she says, Dave, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be a director. She says, then if you want to be a director, you have to go out and direct something. No one's ever going to give you a chance. There is no ladder you're going to climb up. You're not going to work at a job and eventually you're this, you're that. Oh, finally, you're a director. No. You got to go out and direct something. Now you're a director, and however, I may be ad-libbing now, but basically that's what I did. And I figured whatever direction it goes, right? So the first thing I did, I thought, okay, so how am I going to do this? All right, because the phrase that's really important here is power is not given, it's assumed, right? No one's going to give me the power.
Right.
I have to assume I have the power, and then I do. So I thought, okay, so what do I have to do now? What do I have to put into practice to make this work? I thought if I'm going to be doing it every day making films, how am I going to find financing to make these short films? I got to make these short films. I got to figure this out. I got to be a better director. Nobody was hiring me to edit. All right. It was ridiculous. I had nothing. No one wanted to talk to me. So I decided, and I have a minor in theater. I was in stage my entire life. I knew acting. I know acting. I know I'm an actor. So I opened up a school for children. So from the age of 29 to like 38, I had this acting school. How old are you?
I'll be 32 this year.
So you were young enough to have been, did I say this? You were young enough to have been one of my students.
Yeah.
You know? So I called it the Skits and Sketches Arts Academy. And I taught kids film acting, stage acting, movie production. I made probably over 60 short films with children. Like elaborate shit sometimes.
That is free labor. I'm telling you.
Yeah, these kids. You fucking get. You go ahead now, will ya? Action. It was amazing. One of my students is an Emmy Award-winning director now. You know, unbelievable. This guy, Stephen Nitz. So proud of him. You know.
Look him up, folks.
Yeah, Stephen Nitz. Oh yeah, works for Disney. So that's what I did.
The adult
I
department.
did that for about 9-10 years. And then just production started picking up. I started getting bigger jobs, and then I had to decide, am I an acting teacher or am I this director? I mean, I did it to become a better director. That was initially what I wanted to do it for. And then I thought, there are kids out there that aren't the athlete. They're probably, they didn't get the good part in the school play, right? They're not like plugged in to the thing. I thought, let me start the school to get all the kids who are not plugged in, aren't getting the lead roles in the school plays, aren't the big athletes in school. Let me do this.
Yeah.
We learned interesting things. It was really important for me. Like I would, theater games, always doing these theater games, right? You know, and the one theater game that I really liked to work with was like the state changing game. I called it Change Your State. All right. So if I'm an actor and my state of being has to be a certain thing, the way to get there is through movement. You move your body in time and space as if you are in that state. What does it look like when you're upset? What does it look like when you're empowered? How would you stand? Okay. Now let's walk around the room and do that. So we do that, and it changes state, we change state back, you know, and then I was able, and this was primarily really wanted to do this acting school for. When I got into it, I realized, yeah, this is the calling. Then I was able to start teaching them, if we can change our state right now, we can change our state anytime. And by the way, we do. By the way, you move.
Now you got a cult.
Yeah. I got all these kids doing shit for me, you know, getting my laundry, you know.
All right.
You know, but that's it, right? You know what I mean? So that was a big deal for me. And so then I had to, you know, so as then, you know, like I said, I just got busy with other productions. And now I've traveled all over the country shooting commercials and videos. I get to get on stage and speak.
That sound, folks, means we will be right back with Lights, Camera, Fractions, your favorite math podcast. We'll be right back.
Sponsored by Porsche.
De Rossi. We wanted to be clear. Porsche De Rossi. Not the company Porsche. They're European and we're American, so they suck. Porsche De Rossi, though.
Settle on for 8 minutes from now. I don't know if it worked. Let me try it again. Settle on for 8 minutes from now.
All right, so
Obedient.
that's an interesting parallel for what we're doing, or we're getting started with now. So,
Listen, careful how you talk about it. It's real now.
yeah, it's just early stages, we'll call it. It exists. It's just
Great. Okay.
we're teaching it to walk.
Okay, great.
So we're in
Good.
we're in the
That's
writing
nice.
stage.
That's
The writing stage of developing
Programming the monster.
classes.
Right.
Right.
That's
Well,
happening. Yeah. Classes, courses.
yeah. So the things that we've spent all this time learning to do, we want to teach people how to do, because every indie artist needs a leg up, and the first steps you take aren't necessarily from professionals. I'm not reaching out to Steven Spielberg for help on lighting and camera angles. I'm going on the internet and I'm finding guys that are a little bit ahead of me, and I'm learning from them and their experience and their mistakes. So we want to take our experience and our mistakes and our successes and kind of solidify them into these courses, and like, hey, you want to get started writing, this is how you do it. You want to get started drawing, this is how you do it. This
Video
is how,
courses. You can make video
yeah,
courses.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like vehemently opposed to anytime I pick up the, what we do is elusive and so, so beyond the norm, from other artists. And I'm like, no. The reason that people can appreciate what we do is because everybody has the same basic ability, innate, and you can appreciate good design. You can appreciate good design because you're born into a world of design. You may not have the language for it, but you can be taught it. And so, there's just a lot that we can each teach and pass on to people who are where we were, a little bit back. So,
Well, let me say it's not a bad way to make some money too.
no, it ain't.
There's
No, it ain't.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
No,
You
not at
know.
all. Not at all.
It's what you know that's important.
If I can exponentially speed up your ability
Yeah.
to amp up what you're doing, that's worth money.
Well, it's the shoulders of
That's
giants
worth money.
thing,
Yeah.
where giant is a relative term.
Yeah.
It's just I'm higher up than
Yeah.
the person who's climbing up.
I've said this before. You might have overheard me say this before, but it's like this: all you need to know is 10% more than the person you're teaching. 10% more.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
So you can then feel like I'm not a fraud. I do know 10% more.
Yeah.
I create a course. I've got an online course. Okay. I first created it for an industry, the food service equipment industry. It's funny how I fell into that, And I go and I speak at their conferences, and I make videos, and I do fun stuff, but then I speak about video making. Okay. So then I created this course so that when they're done, I teach them. It's like a 55-minute long thing. I show some videos, like talk about it, make them laugh, all that stuff. That's great. I love that. I love that. Public speaking. So we sell the course on their platform. Then I took it and I redid it for a more general purpose, and I have it on Udemy. And I've sold over just about 1,000 courses. I said it, I just kind of walked away from it, and I got 4.89 out of 5 stars. So good reviews, And I've made, listen, the money that I've made on that thing, $45.
Oh,
That's retirement.
that's like
cash
2
right
lunches.
You know what I'm saying,
That's
bro?
a nest egg.
Listen,
That's
I'm
2
a
lunches.
bastard now with that kind of money.
Man.
I'm a son of a bitch with that kind of money. Well, it's like the first 900 I gave away for free because I wanted to see,
Yeah.
And then I'm charging $100 and some for it, but Udemy decides, it's $100 and some, but we're going to offer it at $4 because it's a huge discount to try to push it out there. Nothing you can do, whatever. But I have good reviews and I've sold it. But there are ways, you know.
Well, and I think the dream is being able to monetize, like I said, monetize your imagination. And one of the ways you can do that is by teaching people how to use theirs. Yeah. I think you don't need to have a creative bend to be artistic. To be great, you certainly do need to have the spark. But I think there's a lot of, like, comedians are a good example. Like, there's a lot of people who understand the structure of a joke who are not innately funny. They just know how to make what they are saying sound like there should be a laugh there. Like, the things they're saying, absolutely terrible, and when you look at them on paper, they're not funny. But the way they deliver is good. I think
I say a lot of terrible, very, very digestible stuff.
I could throw names out there, and someday I will take pot shots at some of these people, but the point of the matter is understanding the craft is probably 80% of it. Because you look at, and I was ranting and raving about Todd Phillips earlier. Todd Phillips is a very successful director, and he makes me very upset. But he was a very successful film student, and he understands film. I don't think he has a creative bone in his body, but that doesn't matter, because Todd Phillips is able to make movies that talk to people. So the fact that he's not innately Steven Spielberg, like Steven Spielberg has vision. Todd Phillips understands film to a point that he is able to compete with guys like Steven Spielberg, because he understands what makes a film. And so he's able to make, 3 Hangover movies and The Joker and be one of the most successful people in the last 10 years, despite not necessarily making a film that touches people deep. Like he didn't make Interstellar, but he still made movies that matter to people.
Yeah.
And it's because he understands the craft.
Yeah, he does. He's able to. He more than makes a blip. His work doesn't just make a blip on the radar. So I think that there's something to be said for what he does have vision for, and he does. The man does know. He really does understand how his audience is going to feel in key moments of his films. He really does. He very much does. And I think that takes some vision. You have to, because you plan these things. They don't just happen. You plan that stuff. So.
But again, I think that comes down to understanding the craft.
He knows
his timing.
And it does.
He knows he knows when it's time to take a break. We'll be right back with Good Night Los Angeles.
It's like
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm telling a story. Hang on.
What is our thing?
You can't leave us on a cliffhanger after that.
Hang on, let me finish.
Hey man, fart jokes will never not be funny.
That's stupid.
No, that's another thing. Understanding the craft. Fart jokes will always be funny.
Always.
Always. There was a comedian who I really don't remember his name. He said, "It's this much air going through this much space, and if you don't laugh, you are disrespecting the Lord."
You are. It really is always going to be funny. That is. There's never a time. Yeah. There are no circumstances where an inappropriate fart will not be funny. I don't care how grim.
That's right.
How dire the situation, you're gonna laugh.
That's right.
You are gonna laugh.
Yeah,
I could be about to be beheaded.
If you're gonna execute a man, and then suddenly the executioner rip one, I'm laughing. Yeah. I mean, come on. Part of me's laughing knowing another human being, man. The last thing they're gonna hear is a fart. Yeah. I'm gonna laugh at that.
Listen, I see the scene in my head. It's the dude that's gonna get his head chopped off. Yeah. He does the fart. Little laughter. Everyone starts laughing. He's laughing. He's thinking that it's gonna be okay. There's no laughter.
So as an artist, when did Greg, for both of you, when did you first know you were weird?
What are you talking about?
As an artist, when did you first recognize you were weird? Come on, man.
What do you mean?
He's never seen the weirdo on the bus. It's like, I rode the bus every day. What do you mean?
Third grade.
Yeah, I never saw him.
Third grade.
Yeah, third grade. I can tell you not just the time. I can tell you the moment. So I was accused of stealing a library book, and rather than put me on trial, my school just decided I needed to owe them money. So I was paying. It's a long story. Colorado's a weird place. So I was spending my lunch money on trying to pay back this book all semester. So what I was having my classmates do was check out books for me because I still needed to read. And we checked out The Two Towers.
You still owe that money? I'm just curious. You still owe that money?
No, they actually owe me a penny. I overpaid.
Okay.
Motherfuckers.
Columbia House
So
record.
Tollgate Elementary.
Motherfuckers.
Tollgate Elementary owes me a penny. My buddy Hassan was the last person to check out books for me. And that's because we got busted doing it by the one really suspicious librarian who, for whatever reason, didn't want me to read books, and fuck that lady. But I wanted to read Lord of the Rings, so I had him check out The Two Towers. And because the picture on the front was a buff dude with a sword, he thought it was going to be action-packed, so he checked out 2 copies. She just looked at us the whole time. And then, so we got 3rd grade detention, which was we got taken out of our class and taken to the library, which is where I wanted to be in the first place. And as we're reading, we're across the room from each other, and he's throwing pebbles at me. He's like, I don't like this book. I'm like, oh, I might not be normal.
Maybe I'm weird.
This might be a problem. So I had to hurry up and finish that book so that he could turn it back in and get more comic books. Yeah.
When did I first know that I was weird? I don't think that I am. I don't think I'm weird, you know. I think maybe when I first knew that I was not like everybody else, I knew that early on too. I always felt older than all my friends somehow, you know. I always felt just older than them, like the stuff that they talked about and did. And Grant, listen, I did some stupid stuff, and my friends would be like, "What are you talking about?" However, I was always the one that was trying to make sure that we're safe, you know, paying attention, you know, realizing just because I'm not looking behind me doesn't mean something's not coming, you know. Always being aware, you know. And I always felt older. I couldn't wait till I got older so I would arrive, you know. And I think in the past, listen, quite honestly, past 5 years and even more now, you know, I feel like, okay, I'm finally arriving into the age that I am supposed to be to have some real impact. Although I believe I made impact all the while, you know, but I think now's the time. You know, it's not, I'm fucked. If it's not, I'm fucked, I promise you.
I'm going to go out on a limb and assume you think you're normal too.
Oh gosh, yes.
So maybe this is the moment where I realize I'm weird.
Oh Lord, I'm normal. No, I knew I was weird when I was a kid. When I was a little kid. I'd say probably around. I think I put together though. Oh, I'm not like other people. That's about maybe 8, maybe 9. Like the first times that I knew I had to come up with something quick when I was asked, you know, oh, what you doing? And I knew, well, there's no way I can tell you what I'm really doing. What I'm really doing is, I'm actually listening. I'm listening to the sound that the clothesline makes against the wind.
Yeah.
You know, no, I can't be like, that's what I've been doing for the last 10 minutes.
Listen, if that's what we're talking about, then yeah, I've gone a long time. Yeah.
What are you thinking about? And it was always weird shit like, you know.
Images and shapes.
You know,
yeah.
Oh, I knew it was weird. I'd be like, you know, what are you thinking about? I'd be like, I was actually literally just thinking about like when like Julius Caesar like attacked Rome. But I know that's not normal for an 8-year-old to be thinking about. And I'm not going to tell you that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, that's interesting.
really thinking about that stuff at like that age. Like, man, you know, wait a minute. Armies only had like spears and swords, and how do they full scale war? Oh my God, that had to be awful. And I had to be thinking about that stuff. Like, you know, how did they do this? And
So that's interesting. That being said, I realize then that I'm weird every day with that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, I say some crazy shit. You know, if I can get any of my family members, especially Sarah, if I can say the thing and get her to do this, because it's adolescent but funny, I know I got her. I'm like, I got you, fucker. I got your ass.
you know, I don't think any of us would have. I don't think friendship would be a thing. Relationships would not be a thing in humanity if so much as 50% of us were dead honest when asked, "What are you thinking about?" and actually told you what we were thinking about in that moment, like for various reasons. I think that would be the thing that just ended relationships in humanity. There would be no such thing as a relationship anymore.
I don't know. I have to disagree.
None of us can get on with each other.
Because the amount of people who've said that we're out of time, we're going to come right back for a wrap-up segment. Just 2 seconds. So unfortunately, you're never going to hear what I was just about to say because it's time for us to do...
We want to thank Corvette.
Why would we want to thank Corvette?
Because I want a Corvette.
No, we deserve those cars.
I'd like one.
That they definitely haven't given us.
I don't like
thanking
Corvettes.
Corvette.
U.S. government, don't look in my garage. That said. All right, so this show has 0 format, and I like it that way. Other than the fact that we have to take breaks because my camera's dumb.
Aggressively unprofessional.
But I like the fact that I like what's happening here. I like that
I'm into it.
There's something happening here, you know.
It's
a thing.
well, it really is kind of the change your state game,
Yeah.
just done in an adult setting.
It
Right.
truly is. I can't stop looking at this illustration
Contraption.
of Trump in the
Trump in handcuffs.
Yeah.
So before Rich gets us canceled, I want to thank you for bringing me on in the first place, and I'd like to quickly wrap up by telling a short story about how we all wound up sitting in these chairs. So I have been making video essays for a couple of years. Go watch the Hollywood Education on the Richrokk channel on YouTube if you don't know what I'm talking about.
It's good.
And I was doing them for another network that I was a part of. And that network was we were going our separate ways and we were all doing different things creatively. And back in August, I showed him a video where I made the claim, and I stand by this to this day, that Deep Blue Sea is the most accurate adaptation of Frankenstein ever made.
Deep Blue Sea.
Deep Blue Sea.
You know what? He pulled
It's
it off.
a Thomas
He pulled
Jane
it off.
movie where
You haven't seen it?
LL Cool J plays a
Sam
chef,
Jack. Yeah, it's great.
and it's great, and it is the
Excellent.
closest thing
Really?
Excellent.
Oh, it's a great movie.
to Frankenstein. It's amazing.
Great movie.
Okay.
It's wonderful. It's like
Sam Jackson,
2000.
the shark eats him.
2000. No, well, Sam Jackson dies. Yeah.
The shark eats him. It's great.
Yeah.
But it's so
But anyway,
Motherfucker.
I should probably pull that script out and redo it and do it with the skills I have today.
You know what?
I
Think
have
about it.
today.
You know, that's a thing, man. Like, I've been thinking about that. You know, with the skills I have now, you know, the tools in my arsenal now, you know, revisiting some old projects. You know, that's a really.
So anyway, I show him this video, and it's like 1 a.m. We're at a bar. We're at a bar, and I happen to have that night off. And I show him the video, and he's like, "Hey, man, we've got this idea. I'd like you to come on." He's like, "Well, actually, what he did was, I have this idea for a terrible character, and I need you to play him." And then we got together that week, and it was actually right over there in that room that he told me I needed to be the worst white man in the world on camera. So we developed a character known as the Mansplainer that we'll be shooting this season. And from there, the Richrokk show just kind of became a reality. It went from like this stupid idea that we had in the middle of the night, being idiots at a bar, to, hey, let's try and bring the old variety show comedy sketch series to the age of the internet. Which I'm sure it's not an original idea, but
It's not.
it is something that has never been done like us, because
No,
we were never
not-
involved in
The
those
thing
things.
is,
Not
you've never done it before.
Right.
yet.
Right.
This
So-
is, you know what I mean? You have to.
Yeah. So we wanted to
There's nothing
try our
quite
hand.
like what we're doing though. Quite like what we're putting together. What we're putting together really truly is. It really is like 1970s style variety
Right,
show.
I love that.
It really is, in that this will have musical performances.
Oh, sweet.
Lots of different types of media going on, and so yeah, it's the real deal.
Excellent.
It's the real deal.
And so it's that appeal to the different kinds of media that we have with the Richrokk show, with the Hollywood Education, with these short films that we want to do. We want to really bring audiences together that wouldn't land on the same channel. You know, we want to bring the CBS crowd to the kid that watches just YouTube videos.
Sure.
And we want to have them in the same place and have them experience something together.
Yeah.
And we want to create a place where people like us, indie artists, can also try their hand in a safe environment. Like the studio setting is tough to break into. And there's a lot of voices that deserve to be heard that are going not just unheard, but unspoken because they feel they can't get out there.
Yeah.
We want to create a space,
Yeah.
not just with the Richrokk show, but with the brand in general, where indie artists can come together and make their dreams come true.
So here's a thing that I don't know if you know the speaker named Les Brown, motivational guy, whatever. He tells this interesting story, and this is powerful, and I think about it a lot. And on your deathbed, right? Because listen, we're gonna die. That's important to know. On our deathbed, the ghosts of the ideas that you never fulfilled will be standing around your deathbed with large angry eyes saying, we came to you for life. And you weren't brave enough, or you didn't do it. You didn't do it. And now we'll die having never had our say. These ideas, right?
Wow, man.
You know, amore fati, remember you will die. So, but not today. We got a lot to do still.
Well, maybe. Today just started. It's like midnight, so we got 24 hours to find out.
We got time. We got time.
Wow.
But I can tell you, because I have zero filter,
I know.
that none of those ideas will be standing around my bed.
That's right.
Thankfully.
Yeah.
Thankfully.
You know, put it to a calendar. That's important too. You know, that's why I opened up that acting school. I wanted to make short films. I wanted to make movies. And so I had to. I had to do it because I made a schedule. You know?
You know what? One of the things, something that really kind of motivated me, you know, really helped me to put one foot in front of the other, concerning just pursuing ideas and ventures and things that maybe you don't feel like you're equipped to, was that was crazy. There was actually a pastor that I knew, and he told a story of a church that he was at, and there was a guy that would just critically stare, never engage, just critically stare during his sermons, things like that. Wouldn't engage in anything really, but just he's like, you know, I can just feel the criticism from this guy, and you know, probably one of these guys that goes home and has pastor for lunch. You know, as soon as church is over, just probably choose the pastor one side, down the other. Probably one of these guys, you know, just crossed arms, always staring, angry, man. And he had an opportunity to have a conversation with the man. And then he got down to, you know, why this guy always had that position, like this, that demeanor. And so this is a very hard man to get to know. Didn't speak a lot of English, you know, Korean guy. Didn't speak a lot of English. Quick. So, what it turned out was that this man was very bitter. And when he finally trusted my friend enough to tell him, he produced for him plans and showed him plans for a church. And he said, I'm looking going, that's this church. The guy's like, no, I had these plans decades ago, and I never acted on it. And he felt, God gave me this, and I did nothing with it, and now I bitterly have to attend here in what I should have done. And his point was to tell us that, you know, opportunities don't go away, they go to somebody else.
Yeah.
And that told me, move your ass.
That's a good one,
Move
too.
your ass.
That said, all you angry people out there, go start churches. This has been Toonie Loons.
Cults are easier. That's
Brought to you by
lucrative.
Bana Harbera. Everybody say goodbye.